This is a quarantine area after a zombie virus outbreak. To suppress the zombie virus that may mutate in the body at any time, the survivors can only inject the vaccine made by F Corporation. However, no one knew that the virus that broke out this time is different from the previous one, and it is a new type of zombie virus that has evolved. With the current vaccine, there is no way to prevent it. A man had just injected the vaccine when his body appeared different, and then he fell on top of Carter, the reporter, spitting out blood. This is a precursor to becoming a zombie. The doctor was about to check the man's body. The next moment he turned into a zombie and started to attack others. The infected man in the hospital bed is also showing signs of mutation. Carter called the doctor for help, but the doctors were already in a difficult position to protect themselves. As the zombies were about to pounce, Carter had to use the hospital bed to block them. The entire inoculation room was in chaos. At the same time, there are mutated infected people in the crowd outside. Jordan, the photographer, was shooting news footage. A completely mutated zombie lunges at her. Jordan knocked it down with the camera. People started to run for their lives when they saw the scene, but the uncle in the wheelchair is miserable, was chased by the zombie, fell on the spot. At this moment, more virus carriers joined the zombie army. Jordan got into her car and prepared to escape, but she didn't see her colleague Carter's figure. As she called out anxiously, a zombie jumped on her. Jordan tried her best to break free. She had to drive the car and run away first. Carter, who had just escaped from the inoculation room, saw Jordan driving away and stood there cursing. Looking at the increasing number of zombies around, Carter didn't know what to do for a while. At that moment, a rather digging plug beautiful woman appeared in his sight. She knocked the zombie to the ground with a single blow. So Carter rushed up to seek her protection, and the other side almost attacked him as a zombie. Crystal threw the board to Carter, and she leaped down with a leap. Seeing that zombies had taken over the whole area, Carter had to follow suit, but he accidentally fell and dropped his phone on the ground. As Carter picked up his phone, a zombie fell from the sky. Carter used the wooden board to crack the zombie's head and ran in Crystal's direction. At this moment, Crystal had just found a car, but Maggie is completely devastated by her daughter's death, and Carter also followed at this time. Seeing that the zombies were approaching behind, Crystal had to forcefully pull Maggie's leave together, but a zombie caught up with them when they got in the car, and he jammed his hand on the back door. Carter used the car door to pin the zombie's arm to death. With Maggie's cooperation, he was able to kill the zombie. Thinking about what he had just seen, Carter immediately understood. It must be that the vaccine made by the F company has failed. So he rushed to call his boss and told her everything. When the boss heard the news, he immediately reported it to the outside world. Carter, several people are discussing where to go next but do not pay any attention to the appearance of a zombie holding a road sign in front. When Maggie reacted, it was too late to dodge, and the car crashed straight into it. Maggie tried to start the car again but found the vehicle had been destroyed. Crystal saw the situation and rushed out of the car to escape, but at that moment, many zombies gathered around her. She picked up a brick and knocked down a zombie, then took the opportunity to hide in a store. The other two got out of the car and caught up in the zombies. Good thing they managed to avoid the zombie attack. With Crystal's help, they were able to enter the store. Fortunately, the store had all kinds of tools that could be used. Crystal opened a cabinet and found a pistol. To escape from here, they began to make their weapons to fight against the zombies. On the other hand, Jordan had already driven out of the quarantine zone, followed by other survivors and a large number of zombies. The guards closed the quarantine door. No matter how much they called for help, they didn't do anything. Jordan was about to film the scene when he got a call from Carter. Carter learns that Jordan has escaped the quarantine zone and immediately asks why she abandoned him. Jordan is about to explain when she hears heavy gunfire. The guards cleared the zombies and prevented anyone from approaching the quarantine wall. The guards even pulled the trigger on one of the survivors after repeated warnings were unsuccessful. The entire quarantine area would be sealed off to prevent the virus from leaking. Several survivors were bitten to death by the pursuing zombies. Crystal, who was on the phone, was also taken to the quarantine room for isolation. She rushed to tell Carter about the situation. Carter immediately realizes the seriousness of the situation. This also means they are trapped in the quarantine zone. He then reported the incident to the TV station and asked his boss to find a way to get himself out, but the boss continued to keep him on the scene for live coverage. Carter could only smile helplessly. He was just a tool, people. On the other hand, Jordan was being tested. If she is confirmed positive, she will be euthanized. Soon it was nighttime, and Carter, who was sleeping, was suddenly awakened by a sound. He followed the sound and found that Crystal was injecting the serum. There was also a visible bite mark on her arm. Apparently, he was also a carrier of the virus. As a precaution, Carter held the hammer tightly in his hand and did not leave until he had seen Crystal inject the serum without mutation. Carter then immediately told Jordan about the incident, because he suspects that the reason why the virus will break out again this time is not that the virus has mutated but that the serum itself has a problem. By the next day, Jordan was not infected with the virus. Norton from Company F released her from isolation. She takes the opportunity to tell Norton everything, but Norton only believes it if there is hard evidence. At the same time, Carter learned from Crystal's mouth that the serum she used was not the mass-produced kind but another type purchased directly from other sources. But now, Crystal only has one serum left. She had to find it again before it ran out. At that moment, a news item was suddenly broadcast on the TV. It turned out to be an announcement from the military. Because the virus in the quarantine zone was out of control, the military would carry out a bombing mission within 48 hours. The time left for the three is running out. Worse, the notorious biker gang in the quarantine zone also appeared outside. These people are vicious in the post-apocalyptic world. If they caught them, it would be worse than falling into a zombie's mouth. But Logan, the leader, walked into the store. Three people know the other party is difficult to mess with, so they hurry to find a hiding place. Logan was just about to leave when he saw the weapons they had made. He immediately realized that someone was in the house and started looking around. Crystal had no choice but to make the first move.
Leave the sword.
With a pistol to his head, Logan had no choice but to comply. He dropped his equipment and left the house, but he didn't know that there were no bullets in the gun. After leaving, Logan did not tell his men about this, but it's easy to see from his meaningful smile that Logan doesn't intend to stop there. Logan and the gang had just walked out of the store when they met the unsolicited survivors. The man wanted their protection, but unexpectedly, Logan asked for $10,000 each for protection, and he beat the man up. The woman, who was hiding, was also discovered by them. On the way to escape, the woman was unfortunately surrounded by zombies, but Logan and the others who caught up with her didn't care and left her behind. The woman was soon caught by the zombies and became their buffet. After seeing the bikers leave, Crystal modified Logan's weapon and prepared to look for the serum, but Carter felt that the serum thing should be made public. That way, the military would probably call off the operation, but Crystal didn't want to sit on her hands, so she grabbed her weapon and walked out. Maggie also followed with her weapon. Seeing that they are not cooperating with them, Carter also had to go to the warehouse to find a doomsday weapon. Follow them. Crystal and the two of them managed to find a working car but found the surrounding area full of zombies. To cover them, Carter stepped forward and attracted the zombies. Then he walks right up to them and starts the slaughter show. They took the opportunity to run past the back, but Carter was accidentally entangled in the zombies. He could only use his baseball bat to continue to fight back, but there were more and more of them around. Carter was outnumbered and forced to the top of the bus. He saw the right moment to jump to a side car, then ran into the alley in front and closed the iron gate to keep the zombies out. But just as he breathes a sigh of relief, he is targeted by another clown zombie. There's also a police zombie closing in on him. Carter picks up an exhaust pipe and slams it into the cop. The pistol falls off the cop's body. He just picked up the pistol and was pressed against the wall by the zombie, but he pulled the trigger just in time. But just as the cop fell, the clown zombie slashed at him with an axe. Carter leaned over to avoid the attack, got up and aimed his pistol at the walker's nose, but he found he had run out of bullets when he pulled the trigger. He was also jumped to the ground by the zombie, and the zombies outside the iron door are about to break through the door. Crystal arrives in her car to save him in the nick of time. They escaped before the zombies arrived. The priority was to find the serum, but they searched everywhere but found that all the serum had been looted. Luckily, Carter learned from Jordan that there was a serum warehouse nearby, so the three of them came here, but at this time, the entire warehouse has been empty. They had to split up and look for it, but Maggie was attracted by a stuffed animal. She opened a blood-stained door, and there were many zombies inside. Someone did it on purpose. In the crowd of zombies, Maggie saw a familiar figure. She got closer and saw that it was her daughter. Maggie, who was already guilty of her daughter, became a zombie with her. The other two finally found a batch of serum after some searching, but the serum was not the one Crystal was using. To prove that the serum is faulty, Carter proposes that Crystal cooperates with him to make a video to stop the military from bombing the quarantine zone. For now, it's the only way to survive. Crystal hesitates for a moment and agrees, but as she was about to inject the serum, her body showed signs of mutation. The effects of the last injection have worn off. Carter saw the situation and had to go forward to help her inject the serum. After injecting the serum, Crystal stopped mutating immediately, and the phone also recorded the whole process. This video is undoubtedly the best evidence. But then, a large group of zombies suddenly appeared outside the warehouse. They opened a door only to find that there was no way out. There were also hordes of zombies below. The two of them were completely trapped. Crystal took Carter's phone and posted the video she had just taken on the internet, and it was a huge hit with the internet. The major news platforms also reported on it one after another. Everyone pointed the finger at Company F. The military, therefore, took over the quarantine zone instead of Company F and started a new evacuation plan for the survivors of the quarantine zone. At that moment, Carter and Crystal in the warehouse had given up hope of survival. The warehouse door was suddenly opened, and turned out to be motorcycle gang. They found them after cleaning up the zombies outside. Carter was knocked unconscious just as he was about to speak. When he woke up, he found himself tied to a forklift. There were zombies all around, and a zombie pounced on Carter and tried to attack him. Carter struggled desperately. The zombie was knocked away at the same time, just ripped off the gas pipe. Another zombie passed by a burning oil drum and brought the source of the fire with it. The unlucky Carter instantly panicked, but when he was desperate, he suddenly saw a zombie with a knife stuck in its back. Carter had a plan and immediately lured the zombie to him. Using the knife on his back, Carter managed to escape, and the zombie with the arm on fire also arrived at this moment. The explosion not only eliminated the mass of zombies, the flying knife also killed the motorcycle gang members who were watching. After escaping, Carter immediately called Jordan. When he knew he could leave the quarantine zone, Carter didn't leave immediately but rode his motorcycle to the warehouse to rescue Crystal. When Carter arrived at the warehouse, he saw that the motorcycle gang was about to make a move on Crystal. Logan saw this and immediately went to stop Carter. Without saying a word, they fought together, but even with a weapon, Carter was still no match for Logan. He was easily subdued after only a few moves. On the other hand, Crystal was also knocked to the ground by the motorcycle gang, but he was not happy for long. The smile on his face immediately disappeared, because Crystal got the weapon behind her. He was killed with a single shot. Then Crystal came to Carter's rescue. They rode their motorcycles to the wall, and Logan just slowed down, was turned into a zombie. Maggie bite into the neck. Meanwhile, outside the quarantine zone, Jordan has discovered a big secret. According to the warehouse photos sent by Carter, Norton discovered that their company did not make the new serum at all, and the survivors in the quarantine zone just came out. The colonel began to recommend the virus suppression chip of the military in cooperation with another company. All of this is an elaborate conspiracy for profit. Crystal wanted to bring the truth to light, so she recorded a video and put it in the locker at the entrance to the quarantine zone. Who knows that just after doing all this, she was arrested by several soldiers, and at that time, Carter and the others finally arrived at the quarantine wall, but to their surprise, the bitten Logan came after them again. A large group of zombies followed him. Logan held a shield in one hand and an axe in the other. There was a time bomb strapped to it. He aims to break through the wall and bring the zombie virus to the safe zone. The soldiers on the wall start to clear the zombies. Crystal took the opportunity to find two chainsaws, and Logan launched a duel to the death. And Carter also made a weapon and joined them in the battle. But after a few rounds, they were no match for Logan, because he was about to turn into a zombie. Ordinary attacks couldn't do any damage at all. After he knocked them down, Logan threw the axe with a bomb at the wall. The soldiers on the wall began to evacuate. At the critical moment, Carter ran up and threw the axe back, hitting Logan. Crystal saw this and rushed to find cover. The next second, Logan was blown to smithereens. They finally got out of the safety zone. The first thing Carter did when he came out was to call Jordan's number. In a locker, he heard Jordan's cell phone ring. Inside was the last video she had taken. This was going to be a national sensation. As two bombing raids crossed the sky, the military also continued its bombing mission, and that's where the movie comes to a screeching halt. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.